Navigating Neva, and I'm your host, Neva Nicole, with my co-host.
Wesley King.
And we are back with our friend and guest, Helen Hughes from Mini Water Adventures.
Hi, everybody.
And this week, we are going to talk about Inside Mini Water Adventures method. So last week, if you guys listened to the show, if not, you should go back and check it out. We talked about our upcoming workshop at the Treasure Coast YMCA in Stuart, Florida. And today we're going to dive a little deeper into Helen's actual philosophy and how she helps teachers run or turn fear into freedom and learning into play. So,
absolutely. To your point, Nicole, we tipped the purposeful play and water wisdom. And let's unpack that a little more, Helen. How is play the engine of progress? By the way, another hashtag, another quotable phrase. Play is the engine of progress, but it's not the opposite of structure, right? A lot of times people think, well, we're just gonna sing in songs, and we're not gonna do levels. But you found a way to really balance the play idea, but still have progress. How did you do that?
Yeah. So basically, when you're using this playful approach or whichever play-based approach or whichever way, I call it purposeful play because you are creating or you're using your pooled space, so using your environment to be also a third teacher or second teacher, if you like. So you've got to incorporate what pool space that you have, but then you will be using materials. I call them materials, aka toys and tools. But you're using all of those elements as well as then with the children and yourself, the imagination. And which is hence my business name, Mini Water Adventurers. Every lesson I see as being an adventure, which really for children, it's just they love to learn in a creative way. They are, if you tell them that they're, on a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean, not that they
like in your
Mediterranean
backdrop right now. Like
well,
you're on
there
a
you
boat right
go.
now.
See,
Yeah,
I'm on a boat right now.
See?
Like in your books.
Oh, in your books.
Exactly.
There you go.
Yes, and you create, you can create stories, but when you're doing it in this sort of way, I call them scaffolding. You scaffold the skills that you're working on, but you can do this with regards to the different activities that you are doing. And this is where that play and that purposeful play comes into it, because even though you're doing a breath control skill, there are so many different ways that you can do a breath control without having to just say to the child, you're going to be blowing out bubbles now, or you're going to be putting your face down in the water. You want to be able to create a progression for each child, whether or not you're doing one-on-one or whether or not you're doing a group lesson. You need to be able to put the child at the forefront as to when they are ready, and that readiness is really important. And that's where play comes into it, because you can still do, say, one child is doing one level, maybe they're doing using breath controls and activity, they're just doing a whirlpool on top of the water. Yet you've got you've got another child in that lesson, same group, but they're actually comfortable putting their face down in the water. You're doing it in a way of where you're still using the same activity, but you're enabled to have progression. And that's why the play brings it all together. They have endless amounts of curiosity. They want to know more, but you need to be able to help them in the water, because it's not like land, of where if they are curious about something, they just go ahead and go for it. Obviously, in water, we need to help them. So that is why there is a buzzword at the moment with regards to play. And this is why I want to hone in on it on this workshop, is actually what does it mean? Because there are different types of play, and it's not just a case of throwing a load of toys in. It has to be you can structure a lesson, but it's just different. You're not going through, right, looking at your lesson plan of all 5 minutes, or now 10 minutes is up, and all it you can because you've got all these ideas in your head, you can be so adaptable and flexible in a lesson when you've got this approach, because Every time a child walks through your doors or comes poolside, is that you never know. I always treat the child as if you've never seen them before in that sense, because their emotions are and just the way that they have had, you know, during that day, maybe something of where it's different from the last week, and it will be certainly different to the next week you see
All the
them.
way
So
to the
that's
greeting.
why it just works.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, for those of you out there that are in charge of budgets or managers or have a boss who says no to your requests, use Helen's words. You don't need toys, you need materials. You don't need buckets, you need educational components to your program. Just like the fitness instructor needs all the fancy TRX machines and blah, blah, blah. I hope there's fitness people that are going to email me about this. They need fancy equipment. So do you. Change the terminology that you use so that your budget and your underwriter and your financier controller give you approvals, because you're changing the terminology for your equipment. Sorry, Nicole, go ahead.
Well, it's just so refreshing to hear somebody talk about structure through play. And I like how you're showing teachers that curiosity can lead to consistency. Little ones, I mean, even I want to learn through play and doing. That's why I'm going to be at the workshop. So Helen's going to be at my Friday night, and I can't wait to see what she's got for Saturday and Sunday. But you're just going to walk away with so much stuff. It's kind of like I just left the conference and you have so much stuff. You're like, well, that was a lot to take away. So, whether you're coming for Saturday and Sunday, she's got tons of notes, tons of stuff, both in the classroom and in the pool. But if you just follow Helen online, she has tons of stuff every day. So if your stuff is boring, Mini Water Adventures is the answer. I mean, that's how my lessons turned around. If you guys wonder where my stuff came from, it came from Helen. The Red Cross is fantastic, but it's not giving you purposeful play.
Fair. And I got two things. One, you mentioned the instructors, Nicole. As a former instructor, but also somebody who supervises instructors, I never want to see them stressed out. I never want to see my instructors worried about, is it evaluation day? We know it's evaluation day, but I don't want to see stressed. What level are you going to test me on? What skill does my... And I think, Helen, you've done a great job of the way the instructors can absorb the information and apply it to not be stressed out or be worried about what level and what skill. Talk to us about that. And then if you wouldn't mind, take us into the day, the workshop itself and some of the things. But start first with, how do you alleviate some of the stress off the instructors to be able to focus on the purposeful play and some of the skill sets within it?
Yeah, I mean, part of the workshop will be talking about your why, but then who you are as well as a teacher, because that really plays a massive part as to how you're teaching, because then you're going to feel comfortable with how you're delivering your lessons. Because if you're doing it forcefully in that way of where you're having to fit into this box of what your managers or what have you are asking you to do, then that is going to cause you stress in your lessons, because you're constantly thinking, well, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? Am I moving forward as I should be? Yeah, if it flows and you're working alongside who you are as a teacher, but then knowing and understanding about your different personalities and traits of your swimmers, then already you're set up for success. Because if you don't know who you're teaching and how you're teaching, then yes, it will cause stress. But just simply, if you're planning, which we will do in the workshops, I'm going to show you how to plan so that it isn't having to constantly think about, what am I doing next, or is this right, is this wrong? Because when you use a playful approach, you naturally will use the natural instinct of a child, as
Oh, I love
opposed to
that.
rolling with what they should and shouldn't be doing for that specific level, because you already know you've put them in that. You already, say for instance, you're doing a group lesson or a small group lesson, they've already been put into that stage or that group for a reason. So you know that you're working with that level of child. So you know that one of them isn't going to be really fearful of the water, and then you've got one that's like, literally, don't stop me, I'm going off. You know that you're working with, say, a fearful child. So then if all the planning beforehand works in your hands, then you know that it's transferring that over into your lessons, and it's just going to be fun. And I think that the one thing that I've just found is that yes, it's really important. We have an extremely important job. I totally get it. But at the same time, we're working with children. And it should not be a traumatic experience for either of you. It should be an enjoyable and joyful and just they just skip poolside thinking, yay, what we're going to be doing today, as opposed to holding on to their mum or dad's legs thinking, I don't want to be doing this. So it's, yeah, I hope that's
I can
answered the
hear in your
question. I can't
voice.
even remember what it was.
And that was the idea was for really people to understand that no matter what your certification is, or no matter how
Yeah.
strong your swim program is, or not, no matter how unstressful your environment is it playful?
Right.
Is it joyful?
Right.
You, Nicole knows me. I love a good plan. I love a good structure. But you know what they say: you make a plan and God laughs. And that happens in swim lessons all the time.
Yeah.
From the crying kid to the upset parent and if you have the mindset of we're gonna have fun,
yeah,
we're gonna greet the child with their name loud and proud when they come in.
Yeah.
It really sets a tone for that play mentality while still knowing we have to do our arms and our legs and our bubbles. And again, at the risk of getting angry letters, good thing no one these days writes letters, but at the risk of getting angry letters, there's a lot of franchise swim schools out there, and maybe even people that work for franchise swim schools that are listening that maybe don't often focus enough on that mentality, which means the instructor doesn't focus on the mentality, and we just worry about this one skill to get to this one level. And I think you're just bringing a great approach. And Nicole, I know you're going to talk about England here in a minute and what they do overseas and how maybe we don't do it that well over here, but the great approach about how can we just think differently from the minute that student walks in to how I'm responding, to how I'm looking, to what's on my checklist, and that play and using play in the word, not a buzzword, but in an actionable word, I think is just super valuable.
Yeah.
Where are you at, Nicole?
Yeah. Can I just add to that as well?
Please.
Is that we'll be looking at the environment as well as to how to use your pool space, because I think that's really important, because you're just not going from A to B or staying. So if you're doing just flip and floats, not just, but obviously that's just as important, but you're not going to just stay in one tiny little area, or you're not just going up and down. I'm going to show you how to use the whole pool space for your benefit and for the children, and how you set it up for success of your lesson, and that will help naturally progress it through
we
the
call
time.
it PSU, pool space utilization. I ask everybody, what's your PSU? And they go, well, I have my kids in the water. I said, no. What's your PSU?
Yeah.
And anyway, in an acronym. Where's your head at, Nicole? What do you think about all this?
Oh, well, I think that's a great teaser because, as a program director, we do what Wes just talked about, and we've, to have a pool and make revenue, you've got a lot of stuff happening in your pool at one time. So you might only be here, or you might only be here. And sometimes my pools have the whole pool, or my space has the whole pool. This morning I had the whole pool, and sometimes you only have parts of the pool, but you can still have the whole water space. So if you're going to Helen's workshop, I can't wait to see what she tells me. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how the UK is different from the United States. And I have looked into this a lot, but I don't have as much experience as Helen does, as she was in the States for quite some time, but she's not from the States. And then she was here, and then she went back there. So I thought she could tell the audience from her perspective kind of how we differ from them, or what we could take away from her when she's coming here, because most of us aren't certified at all and we're teaching, or we are certified, and our certifications aren't even the same as theirs, the way they approach it and what they're learning. And I mean, I don't even know if our listeners know this, but Australia and the UK, I think they're governed to require lessons, and we're not. But we're going to Florida, and the aquatic director at the Treasure Coast YMCA, they do lessons like all day long because they've got funding through different grants and scholarships that the state of Florida offers. So it's not that the United States as a whole pushes lessons, but Florida has a lot more support to offer lessons to their residents, since it is,
Right. The United States as a whole does not offer lessons. Let's start there. And I know Nicole. It looks like Helen's getting a visit from her captain. So in the meantime, I don't discredit you, Nicole. Between Helen, Phil, Joe Wilson, who else have we had on here? Joe from Aquaphobia, Julianne, James. Just in the last year,
we're
Nicole,
gonna have Aqua Babies.
Aqua Babies, right? Julianne James from Aqua Global Network. In just under a year, Nicole, you have branched your podcast to multiple countries across the world. And also, I think that's why we're bringing this up, because you and I've got a pretty big taste that things operate differently there, from the requirements, from the approach, to the how they use hotel pools and all the things. So I just think there's so much valuable. And I think anybody who listens to this podcast might start to get a feel for what's happening across the world, because it is different.
Helen, what can you tell us about the difference between here and there on lessons? Just how they're, maybe from the parent perspective, not only the student or the parent's perspective, just how lessons are treated differently, or how it operates differently, how it's perceived.
Well, one thing that is the main focus is strokes over here. So yes, you have your parent and me classes, but that tends to be very much franchises that have taken that role on. More and more leisure centres or sport complexes are doing them more so now, just because the Swim England and STA qualifications enable that. So it's more accessible to others, but franchises like Water Babies and Puddle Ducks and things like that still are the main groups, if you like, that people go to. I have my thoughts about those, but really, as soon as possible. Most swim schools will actually start from 3 and 4 years old. Some don't take any younger than that. They will start lessons at 3, and we do half an hour, and we do that every week. And that tends to be we hardly offer any one-to-ones. It's not really the thing to do. We always do group lessons.
It's almost reversed. Sorry, keep going. It's literally almost flipped.
Yes, and they pack them in. So in my eyes, again, it's extremely dangerous. You could have beginners, and there could be from 8 to 12 beginners that can't swim in one group. And the swimming teacher could potentially have an assistant in the water with them, or they may not. So it's bonkers, really, to be honest. A British term there, bonkers.
Makes you feel a little better about America at times, doesn't it, Nicole? Momentarily, at least. Keep going. Sorry, Ellen.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But so I would say that was the main thing. The only way they would probably do one-on-ones, but it's so expensive to do one-to-ones that we don't generally offer those out. If it's for those children that have physical challenges, or they're autistic, or they've got something that requires one-on-one and they don't fit into the group setting, so then they have to then choose the one-to-ones.
Almost as a separate entity, not as a privilege, as a standing out sort of negative thing, maybe even. Where here it's look at me, I got my private swim lesson, I got my fancy teacher, and anyway, I'll stop talking to avoid people hating me. But
and that's fortunately how it's seen. It's separate groups, so as soon as they are old enough, they will do strokes. And that will be the focus on making sure that they do front crawl, backstroke, and then they do butterfly breaststroke. And some people may do it different ways round, but that would be the focus. They do add in some sort of survival methodology, but it's a case of sitting them on poolside and asking them questions.
Wow.
Which is,
and your franchises are babies, whereas in the United States, our franchises, again, we can name all of them if we wanted to, are more of the group swim lesson model, where you guys have the baby franchises and we have the 3 to 7 year olds or 4 to 7. Wow. Okay. What do you think, Nicole?
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think the way the parents approach the lessons or put a priority on, we're gonna go and we're gonna learn. is
is
different.
unique. I think that
Yeah.
what you say, and again, this is three people randomly talking before we've eaten lunch and my Bears haven't lost yet. We used to put up on our boards a Candy Crush scoreboard. So all the parents that weren't watching the children's swim lessons were playing Candy Crush with each other. They could go right on a dry erase board their Candy Crush score because we knew how disconnected the parents were. And this program actually won Aquatics International Best Program of the Year in 2015. This program, and we knew the parents were so disengaged because we'd
Yeah.
walk around and see them all playing. But my point is, I feel like the England parents or the Europe parents are at least a little more engaged. Maybe they don't play Candy Crush the whole half hour. Maybe they get
No.
involved. Am I wrong with understepping our? I mean, or is there maybe that's
Yeah.
is
I would
it?
still, yeah, I would still say there was a disconnect, even though they may be potentially sitting poolside. They're either chatting to the person next to them or they're
They're
on
at
their
least
phones.
poolside. Our parents don't even take their shirt or their shoes off. So
Oh, yeah,
maybe
no. So
okay.
pretty much at certain ages, we require the parents are poolside, and they sit and they watch, or they need to be obviously in the building, but
Fair, fair.
they could potentially go and do a workout if the child is old enough.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
That's
I
how
would
we sell
say that
memberships.
yeah, it's yeah, they I think over here that it's something that you have been brought up to be told to do as a parent is that every child must be enrolled in swimming lessons. And that's why that's how we differ, I guess, is that there is a lot of options, but
Okay.
they're not necessarily all great because you've got the leisure centres, which where they pile them all in and they literally walk in a lesson, they don't actually swim. And then you've got the franchises, which are the babies and me. And then you do have your independent swim schools, which was like myself, as if to say, I don't want either of those. So I
Sure,
create
sure.
my own, which
Right,
is where
right.
I came. But I think there are more and more now coming to the forefront of when they are wanting to go off on their own, because of that. Um, that they want to put you in this box of you're teaching my way, and if you don't it,
Hmm.
then basically you can leave. And that's my experience. I've had firsthand as well. So
Oh, yeah, I'd say they're the ship sails across all oceans, maybe, would be a fair analogy. And again, we are not even getting into the socioeconomic challenges, race, creed, color. I mean, that's, universally challenged
yeah.
and providing services there. Also recognizing too, I think one of the things that is different, I don't know, maybe Nicole, you touched on a little bit too, is we're state by state, we're city by city. You can get an LLC and hop in the water. You don't have to submit anything. Is there any sort of, I don't want to say government, but legal, there's the STA, there's some sort of governing
Yeah.
back and forth, at least overseas. Am I right in that? Whereas America, I can just hop in the water and start teaching.
So here in the UK, it's not legally required to have a qualification, but they do, for insurance purposes, they will ask you what qualification you do have.
So, okay, okay.
And it's obviously it's for best practice to have a qualification. So if you're wanting to get a teaching post or teaching job at one of your local leisure centres, they will all ask, are you Swim England or STA? And for the most part, most still
Like we
now.
would, oh, good.
No, I was just going to say that for the most part, it's changing, but for the most part, Swim England is still top. They are classed as being the setting the standard, basically.
And for us, Nicole, would that be, and they don't ask in the States, but if they did ask, would it be like, are you Red Cross? Are you Ellis? Are you the Y? Is that,
I'm gonna say it's
or
still
no?
Red Cross, and the only reason
Okay.
I'm gonna say it's still Red Cross is when you're
Probably only the
applying
Red Cross, right?
when you're
Only.
applying for grants,
Mm.
they accept Red Cross. So if there's national grants and funding that you're gonna
Okay.
get, a lot of them will only recognize the Red Cross. I haven't seen them take other ones. I've known of facilities that have other competitors and they
Hmm.
don't accept those.
And
So
that's for grants, let alone for what Helen's
right,
saying, which is just
right,
to start your own business.
right. We're talking
And
about
I,
receiving funds, yeah,
right, yeah,
not
yeah. So
starting your
there's,
own business. Yeah.
right. And so it's, again, that's why we have all things aquatics. That's why we're doing this podcast. That's why we're doing the workshop. That's why we're doing all this, is there's nobody stopping anybody doing it wrong.
Right.
There's nobody stopping
Well, and I
anybody.
think that's why drowning is still such a big issue, is because if
Bingo.
anybody can teach it and anybody can do it
Talk about
wrong
it.
or not
Right.
do it right or not be qualified to do it correctly,
Mm-hmm.
then you're getting a lot of people that don't know what they're doing trying to do it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I,
Or
I
not do
think,
it at all because they don't have to.
yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that the point of a qualification is to prove that you're understanding the reasoning why you're doing what you're doing. And that's why you go to these like things like these workshops. But for your specific qualification is that you're proving to that person that's examining you or observing you that you can conduct a safe lesson. But it goes deeper than that, because you could, for that particular one day or that one time where that person is watching you, you could do a great job, or you could do opposite. You could do terrible and they fail you. But it's all down on that one time only. And there are so many bad practices out there that even though they are qualified, it doesn't mean you've got to keep going, because you're talking about children. And you have to understand what you're doing. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants, because you're going to be putting a child in danger. And there are more layers. Swimming teachers are onions. There are so many layers that you
Great
have to
statement. So
unpick
are
to be
wives,
able
by the way.
to. And there's a lot of crying, and uh, but it's serious. It's yeah. You've got to, once you've got qualified, you have to carry on. You can't stop learning. It's essential that you do it. I mean, that's life in itself. You have to immerse yourself, otherwise you're just going to be confined in a
Right.
bubble, and it's not great.
Right.
Well, I want to say, for those of you that are coming to Florida, I think you can get a whole lot of what they do over there. You can learn everything that Helen's learned, and she's going to bring it here. So since we don't know when she's coming back, you should definitely get your
Be
tickets,
there
right?
in November.
Yeah.
And not only that, and again, I not to double down on all things aquatics or navigating, it really fills what we're doing, right? Because when you get to your workshop, Helen, and to Joyful Waters the night before, you don't have a name tag that says where you're from and what certifications you have. You'll have a name tag, but the point is, it's not about what is the letters behind your name. I know we said this on episode 1, but it's really about what you walk away with. And you walk away with that community. You walk away with a sense that there are people that do want to have their silos down and their walls down, and they do want to share information, which I know, Nicole, you and I have struggled to find people like that in the States sometimes, and they just want to teach their own method and have their own system. Well, that's great, but kids are going to drown tomorrow and they're going to drown the next day. And I think one of the great things about you, Helen, and you too, Nicole, is your approach to inclusion. And wherever you're teaching or whatever you're teaching and whoever you're teaching, when you come to this workshop in November, that all kind of goes out the window because we're in it together. And the things we're going to learn are going to be great for whoever you are and whatever you're doing. But when we're in this workshop, we're really going to use tools and tricks and trades off of each other and off of the play methodology. And so anyway, without going off a tangent or starting to cry, I just think it's beautiful that we're really working hard on this. And the design of these workshops are that focus. And I hope everybody gets that understanding.
So I'm going to ask some more weird questions for those people listening, just because I get a lot of questions. So this isn't a certification class, so there's no prerequisite to come. So if I want to sign up for the workshop and come, and I don't like swimming, or I just got my eyebrows done or my hair permed and it costs more money than your ticket, I don't have to get in the water and I don't have to swim, right?
Right. You can sit there and look pretty.
Okay, but I can still come
That was
and
my
take away
personally
lots of
that was
stuff.
my biggest concern, my own concern. So that for those of you watching, anyway,
Right.
Sarah, go ahead.
Right. Well, I mean, I know sometimes my hair, my eyebrows, they cost a lot, and
My daughter did my makeup today, and she did my cover up and my thing. 8 years old, I got you, Dad. She said it. Don't worry, Dad, I got
Right.
you.
Well, and I
in
know
front of everybody.
Sometimes people have surgeries and they can't get in for 6 to 8 weeks afterwards. But I mean, everybody is willing to come and walk away with stuff because, again,
that's going to be
the key.
Yeah.
In the
and it's
classroom,
not an
there's
in-service.
stuff to do. It's not an in-service.
Right. Yeah, we all struggle so much with. I don't say we all struggle with. We can struggle with how do we motivate ourselves and our team, and then plan for lesson plans and all this. If you go to this thing, your in-services are going to be planned for a year because you're going to take so many chunks away from so many things. And Helen breaks it up so much. I know you haven't seen the book and I know you haven't seen the workbooks, but I've seen pieces of them before. And while it's a lot of information, if you segment it out and you say, this is my fall in-service, this is my summer in-service, you can take all the things you're going to learn and Nicole's things and build out your entire, not lesson plan, but the way you apply your lesson plans. And you'll still get lesson plans. But again, it helps you plan everything. Sorry, Nicole, but yeah, there's just so much ways to build on what's happening.
Mm-hmm. And if you're like me, where we do competitions for our instructors, and we're like, who gets the most reviews? If you want better quality or content, Helen, she's like Mary Poppins' bag. Like she's got so many goodies in there that you just add one thing from what she gives you to one lesson, you get 5 stars.
And she talks like Mary Poppins too, which is cheating, by the way. That's not even fair, but we'll just plug that. None of us can do that accent. So
it is funny you say that about Mary Poppins in my bag, because when I do my opening of my videos on YouTube, I literally got a bag and I take everything out and it just goes on and on and on
a lamp.
and on.
That's so funny.
Where did that come from?
Superfragilisticexpialidocious. I think I got it. I'll get credit for it somewhere.
But no, I think the point is as well, it gives you variation, it gives you excitement each time you come to the pool, and it reminds you as to why you're doing what you're doing. And and ultimately, why have you chosen to be a swimming teacher? And this is where it comes back to it, is that yes, it's not just a job, it's something that is essential, but then be playful with it. And I can show you ways as well that how you can earn more money by not just doing one-on-ones. You can offer small groups and you can do it in a safe and effective way. You don't
have profit
to have
margin.
Massive amounts. Say again?
It's called profit margin.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's your USP as a swim school and as a swim teacher, but it's giving the boost back to a teacher. If you think that you may have lost it a little bit and you're needing a little bit of pizzazz, and just something that maybe just bringing just a teeny tiny, just a simple thing is just one of these little things here. What can I do to make your swimming lessons be magical? Just something like that. Just a little thing.
There's her tease, Wes. There's her tease.
That's all I wanted. What are we going to do in class?
And then another tease. What could you do with these?
What could you do with those? Yeah, she's got everything.
So if you're listening, go to YouTube and watch. That'll boost our YouTube numbers so we get up to Smart List and Hoda Copies and Amy Poehler's numbers. But B, it also does allow people to see the visuals. And, what are we going to play with? We're going to play with toys. No, we're going to play with equipment that we need our boss to approve us to buy so we can have better programs.
Yeah, there's a tease for Wes's upcoming All Things Aquatics upcoming webinar.
This is true. November 4th, right, Nicole? Keep pacing it out. Which is also complimentary and free.
It is complimentary and free, but it tells you how to write better reports so that your boss thinks you're doing a great job, because you are doing a great job. You just have to sell it right.
Exactly right. Well, this has just been fantastic. And my Bears are winning for those of you that are listening in real time.
No one is listening in real time. All right. Well, we are going to dismiss everybody who's listening, and we're gonna tell everybody to go sign up. And
yes,
because we're gonna see them at the Treasure Coast YMCA in Stuart, Florida.
November 14th through the 16th.
14th, 15th, and 16th. It's a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday night starts at 6 p.m. So if you're working that day, you get off work and you come meet us over there. And then we are all day Saturday, all day Sunday. That's right. All right, guys.
Good times.
Well, you can always find Wes, I, and Helen on Facebook, LinkedIn, and if you go to the navigatingneva.com website, you will find our show notes there, as well as our page with any information you can want. And Helen is found at Mini Water Adventures. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody.
We look forward to you guys following us. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.